Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the +1 seasonal event, which is an alternate game in which every time we play a unit, we will also spawn in a 1-power copy of that unit in the same row. And that means that we have an engines deck in more ways than one that is double as effective as it usually is. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Northern Realm Stockpile siege deck that is very similar to many other siege decks that you would typically run because it gives us a whole bunch of damage from all of our siege engines. Then we have some additional soldiers to proc the crew abilities of those siege engines, many of which also have damage, or if they don't, then they also benefit from having an additional copy on the board spawned in from +1. And of course, as we used in a recent deck as well, we have thrown in Sihil because in this event it is so effective because since our opponent is spawning in a 1-power copy of every unit that they create, that makes Sihil very easy to trigger the death blow on, and usually getting that first death blow when you have only 1 damage on Sihil is the tricky part, and since that's not really the case anymore, that is capable of setting up Sihil for seemingly a never-ending amount of repeated damage and death blows, making it stronger as we go on. And if we do not have weak enough units to target with Sihil, then never you fear, because we have things like Foltest Pride to deal more damage, which we can do after Sihil to set up our next Sihil on our subsequent turn. We also have additional damage coming from a bunch more siege engines like Reinforced Trebuchet, Rivian Pikeman, who is really the finisher to go along with the siege engines to use that damage to reset their cooldowns. Reinforced Ballista, more damage there. Redanian Archer, even more damage, and soldiers to help with the crew. Siege Tower, Siege Engine, yes, although no damage here. And similar story for Redanian Knight, just obviously a soldier in this case. And you can also use Bombardment as a finisher. When you have a bunch of siege engines on the board, this is good for a ton of damage. And because you're getting 2 siege engines every time you play one, it's twice as effective as usual. Then there's Sabrina, and when we play her on our opponent's side of the board, she will spawn in another copy of herself in that row, and when she gets destroyed, she will deal 3 damage to all units in that row, and because it's very common for our opponents to row stack in this event, that is good for a ton of damage, and not only that, the first Sabrina will damage the other Sabrina by 3, destroying her, so then her Death Wish will trigger, giving you 6 damage on every unit in a row, which is crazy value, and with all the damage we have in this deck, should be really easy to trigger that Death Wish. And if for whatever reason you happen to need to Sihil target, then this is another way to make that happen. And we also have Trollololo, which, if you get the chance to play him at the beginning of the round before you start spawning in all those additional siege engines, all of those orders are capable of making both the initial Trollololo and the one that gets spawned in incredibly powerful, and because he gets the armor, it's hard for your opponent to shut him down as well. Then the really big stuff is, of course, Henselt, which we can use to help get a crew card onto the board, and because we're creating 2 Henselts and creating 2 of whatever unit we get on the board with Henselt, that is just a crazy tempo play there. And if we use it to get Raffard's Vengeance out, then this is also just absolutely insane in this event. 2 Raffard's Vengeance on the board, and both of which can give you additional bronze cards from your hand, and you're getting 2 copies of those bronze cards, so it just turns into a whole bunch of units, and that means we can swarm the board with a combination of damaging soldiers and damaging siege engines, making it so difficult for our opponents to do anything without their units getting destroyed. So overall, that's the idea of the deck. We also have Yennefer, who's neither a soldier nor a siege engine, but she works well with the damage, so if there's a particularly high-powered unit, you want to try to focus in on that, weaken it down with things like your Redanian Archers, and if you get multiple units on the same amount of power, then that's where Yennefer really kicks in because she can damage all those units simultaneously. And, of course, there's also Donimir, our defender, to help protect our bigger units. Probably going to want to use this in whatever row you play Henselt and or Raffard's Vengeance. If you don't have them on the board, then probably Foltest Pride would be the other thing that you're looking to protect. And that's just about it. So, tons of damage, and a little bit of boosting as well, and a deck that just works incredibly well in the +1 event in particular. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Scoia'tael here, and they'll go first. Okay, so let's see, we have Henselt, obviously he's very big. We have Foltest Pride, we want to make sure we have something to get Henselt to tutor out, but we can certainly still get our Raffard's Vengeance with him. Probably like to put a defender down before we do that, so we can do that with Royal Decree. Yennefer gives us a little more damage, and with Raffard's Vengeance we can play a lot of these bronze units. I think this is probably fine, although we might want to swap out some of our bronze special cards, since Raffard's Vengeance can't play those, so this probably gives us a little bit of a better balance then. Okay, they're starting with... Huh. Harmony. I'm a little surprised. Not only that, but they go melee row for the shield rather than range row for the poison. Obviously, they wouldn't want to do that on their first turn, but... Okay. Alright then. So, the question for us is, do we go straight into Royal Decree for Donimir and do that to set up more safely Henselt plus Raffard's Vengeance, or do we wait to do that in round 3? Tempting as that, or well, nice as that might be to save Henselt, I think we probably do, given how many bronze units we have in our hand here, probably do want to make a point of using something that helps us play more of them, like Raffard's Vengeance. Okay. That will proc their Harmony. Symbiosis as well. I really don't know what to make of what they're trying to do here. So now let's get Henselt down, and we will use him to get Raffard's Vengeance as well. And we'll put it right between those guys for the crew. And this means 2 bronze units per turn, which is pretty crazy. And that's why we wanted to make sure that we had a bunch of them. Okay. Huh. Obviously, they also have the hand-boosting leader ability, Invigorate, so I was expecting to see mostly that. And that's what they're starting to do now. Really just can't make any sense out of this, though. Just a combination of... I guess it's mostly Harmony at this point. Well, it is a mixture of different types of Scoia'tael units, so it looks kind of like Harmony. But now let's... I think maybe we'll go Raffard's Vengeance to get all of our bronze units down here. And maybe we'll follow up with a Yennefer's Conjuror, since this is obviously one of our gold, so we can't use Raffard's Vengeance to get that. So let's do this, and... we don't have anything in the range row, so the Trebuchet is not great for us. Might even be looking at the Ballista. Drawn to Sihil. Now that's another card that will play a bunch of bronze cards for us. We do want to make sure that we have room, or time rather, to play all this stuff. So I guess we'll go Redanian Knight. Put you over here. So we get a little bit of damage, and that's maybe even a good thing that we hit you. Oh, right. I lost track of how... No, that technically was not the card that we played on our turn. I wanted to play Yennefer, obviously, in that melee row, where we would have room to get a second one. But, yeah, no, that was not actually the card that we played on our turn. That was just from Raffard's Vengeance. They will pass here and let us win on even cards. We played very aggressively in round 1, so maybe we dissuaded them from wanting to play any further. Alright, so we're still on 10 cards here, because we won on even. We could push if we'd like. We probably should, because we have at least 3 throwaway cards here. So I think what we do is we're probably looking to set up Sihil, because we didn't get a lot of time to benefit from that Raffard's Vengeance, and as I was saying, Sihil kind of competes for all those bronze cards with Raffard's Vengeance, and we still have a bunch of those remaining. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably lead off with Trollololo, and then, once they have units for us to go after, we'll use Sihil to do that. Okay, Oneiro into what? Yeah, it looks... Huh. Looks like Symbiosis now. Have we seen anything? I mean, obviously the devotion doesn't matter in this round, because they won't have time for Ethne to transform anymore. But have we seen anything that is... Oh, well, we saw Oneiromancy to get them, right? So we know they don't have devotion. Okay, so I think we still... They're going to load up on this range row. That's going to make a future Sabrina play much, much nicer for us. But I think we're still going Sihil first here, while they have a 1-power unit. And what would we like to go for here next? Maybe Redanian Archer. Help set up future Sihil plays. We have these young Dryads. So as things currently stand, they're actually on the perfect amount of power for us. So maybe we... I guess we could also go Reinforced Trebuchet. Yeah, sure. Not sure it matters too much at this stage. They're in the range row, of course, so that means easy for the Trebuchet to do its thing. And that's one of the reasons why I think damaging one of them was not necessarily a bad idea. Because they have all these Symbiosis cards. Surely that means they're going to boost some stuff, right? So we can still go Sihil here, and although this Wandering Treant is bigger than this young Dryad, the Dryad has the Symbiosis, which makes it an engine, whereas this is not. So I think we're probably still going after you. And then maybe we're playing a soldier of some variety to get the crew on the Reinforced Trebuchet over here. Not that that is super relevant as of yet, because everything they have is in the range row, but nonetheless, let's continue to set ourselves up here. Sihil is on 3, so that means the Treant is currently our best option, but, I mean, I guess we probably should be trying to get rid of you, because you are technically more of a threat than Ethne is at this stage. But, of course, we don't really know where this damage is going to go. Yeah, if we put both of our archers onto the young Dryad, then she would have been removable, but she's obviously going to get the boost from the Symbiosis, or rather from the Vitality at the end of their turn. Then again, we are planning to use Sabrina, and so that would wipe everything they have in their range row right now, if we do choose to follow through with that. We've played 3 cards, so in theory, that was all the throwaways we had. But I kind of like where we're standing right now. We have a lot of engines on the board, and we've shut down at least some of their engines, and may very well be able to shut down this Dryad as well. So I think we may still want to go at least a little bit further here. And worst comes to worst, even if they do still win in round 2, we'll get some carryover of sorts by having a stronger Sihil in round 3. So I think we'll go after... I mean, we can't get the death blow if we go after you, so I think it has to be the Treant. And it's probably Redanian Knight, right? Yeah. Yeah, it is. This gains value over time, so we're going to want to go that route. And so now Sihil is on 4 power, which means if you don't boost the Dryad on their next turn, after the Vitality kicks in, it is just the right number. We might, again, get Trebuchet damage on the Dryad. We're not really sure. Yes, we'll go after Ethne with the second round of damage. And then we'll see. Okay, yeah, so even if it... I mean, it's doubtful to get 1 boost on the Dryad, but either way, that's probably our next target. Dunka. Okay, so there's hand boosting. That's more what I expected to see. And you are actually more valuable than this young Dryad is at this point, in all likelihood. So despite you being lower power, we might deliberately go after you with Sihil now. And how are we doing in terms of bronze cards we have remaining? It's probably going to be a Bombardment. Unless we take a quick break from Sihil and go into Foltest Pride, which would be very effective in their range row if we were to damage them there. It's not a terrible idea. But I do like getting rid of a Dunka as quickly as possible. I mean, I guess we could go after Dunkas with Foltest Pride too. No shortage of options. No shortage of options, but let's see where this brings us with that damage. Because Sahil's now at 5, which is the perfect number for you. But if we could get you down to a 5, that would be preferable to destroy you on our next turn. Well, we do have the crew on the Reinforced Trebuchet, which means it's not restricted to damaging that range row. It can hit the melee row as well. We did row stack big time, so we did kind of deserve that. But we are still in the lead here. And it means no more charges for the Redanian Archers. They'll get rid of one of them. But we've gotten rid of so many units that Sabrina is not quite as effective as she might have looked initially. We do still have, what? Oh, just one siege engine? So Bombardment is not super effective at this stage. Sihil, obviously, can destroy Etne or Dunka, and we can use the remaining damage with the Archer to probably get rid of Dunka. So maybe that's what we go for here. And we just continue to put the pressure on. Yeah. So our bronze units, bronze specials, not really ideal here. Bombardment is, I mean, it's definitely going to destroy their units, but I'm just not sure that's really necessary at this point. Let's keep you alive, I guess. And we use you to get rid of Dunka. And the Trebuchet will get rid of their last unit, so yeah, didn't need the extra damage from Bombardment anyway. At this point, basically everything we have is damage-oriented. Not loving the looks of that. Because... oh, they went range for Vitality. Not poison. I was going to say, these Trollololos are going to get... at least this one's going to get pretty big. So I was expecting that they were trying to take that out. But apparently not. We could Sihil, and then that would force us to play Bombardment, which is... it's overkill. But I guess it works. I guess so. Won't get any more charges from the Redanian Archer because it no longer has any armor. So we might want to use Trollololo in that case. It's the only way we're going to have additional orders that we use would be if we were to use Foltest Pride. And we'd probably like to save that in case we do end up going to round 3. So I think given the huge deficit that we have right now... did I not just press that as well? I definitely pressed that as well. Okay, maybe we will play one more turn then. But 26-point lead, if they want to catch us, it's going to take a fair bit. We have played one more card than them in round 2, so that is a small factor. But we also don't want to be using Sihil at this point because we don't have any more bronze cards. That means if we play Sihil, it's not going back into our hand. Sabrina is ideal when they have a ton of units in a row, which maybe if we hadn't been as aggressive with Sihil in this round, might have made some sense, but with just a few units on the board, not really the value we're looking for. And then Foltest Pride would be the one thing that you might consider. Obviously, the earlier you play that, the better, but I think we might just look to save all this for round 3, because, I mean, we could push the 2-0 win, but, well, I mean, we are forcing them to play Torque, which is definitely not something that they wanted to do. Don't quite have enough damage to remove him. Again, Sihil is not really a card we want to play here. It'd be more a question of to Foltest Pride or not to Foltest Pride. I think, I mean, if we pass now, they probably can catch us, but it will probably require that they play possibly as many as 2. I doubt every card, doubt all 3, but obviously giving us huge card advantage going into round 3. And given how, despite clicking on Trollololo on our last turn, it didn't work, I guess we'll do it. Also, we totally should put that in the middle of these guys. I guess it's not going to matter if this is going to be the last card we play anyway. If anything, it would mean that we actually... I was not anticipating that we were going to play this turn anyway, but obviously it would mean that waiting to use this Trollololo's order until this turn would have made it slightly stronger, but they have resigned. They realize that at this point, there is no catching us. So they'll just pass and give us the 2-0 win. Alright, so going up against Skellige here, and they'll go first. And given how this is a Patricidal Fury deck, I am almost certain that they will also be focusing on Sihil here. So it might be a battle of the swords in this instance. using Sabrina is a great way, especially with Sihil, to just wipe an entire row. We do want to have a lot of bronze cards to go with Sihil. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Just not so great. So, as awesome as Raffard's Vengeance might be, it competes a little bit with Sihil for the bronze cards, and we could get it with Henselt if we really wanted to. So I think we dump that, and then I think we gotta keep Oneiromancy, right? I think we'll keep everything else. What is the final count on bronzes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, actually. Okay, Gerd. And that's another way for them to get a 1-power unit on the board to set up their Sihil on their next turn. So that's, I think, very clearly what they're looking to do. And we could go with our Sihil, and then technically the best way to avoid your opponent using Sihil on you would be either Redanian Knight or the Reinforced Ballista because they have armor. But since they put that 1-power unit on the board, or unless we go with Winch on this Deafening Siren, they're going to have something to target with Sihil. It'd be kind of funny if we did that, though. I'm actually a little bit intrigued. What if we did that? Hear me out here. Assuming that they do have Sihil, and they were doing this specifically to give themselves a Sihil target, they can still use their leader ability to set it up, yes, but then they don't have the initiative. They definitely don't have the initiative after using their stratagem there. So I'm curious to see to what extent we might have just messed with their plans. Okay, well, now they may deliberately be trying to make it so that we don't have obvious Sihil targets. Of course, we can create a Sihil target, kind of like they did with Gerd if we were to play Sabrina. We'd like to make a point of playing Sabrina in a row that has a lot of valuable units in it, and that means probably waiting until they've, well, committed a fair bit to a row, which with a couple of axe wielders with the armor, it's not a huge deal. Hitting Gerd would be nice, but the Lampkin also, I mean, it's damage, yes. But I think what we'll do here is now we'll go Redanian Knight, because even the 1-power copy will get boosted at the end of our turn. It has the 2 armor, so that means our weakest unit still has, or still requires, 4 damage to get rid of. So it does make matters difficult for them. Similar, though, with the Draco Turtle. Very cool. I think it's just a war of us both trying to deny each other the Sihil plays. Oddly enough, and I mean, we could go Henselt and get Foltest Pride and weaken some of these guys, and this axe wielder could definitely get low enough to take out with Sihil on our next turn if we wanted to go that route. It's a somewhat big commitment. That might be worth doing, seeing as how otherwise we might find ourselves fighting to a stalemate here. So I think we go for it. Put this Foltest Pride in between those Henselts. Then we do this, and that's enough damage to weaken you, or we could even do that. And now we can target either of you guys with Sihil on our next turn. And once again, our weakest units have 1 power and 1 armor, making them unsahilable at the moment. Although Morkvarg does set up a Sihil play for them, it's an interesting choice to go Morkvarg there. I mean, it wasn't a super highly boosted unit. It does shut down the engine as well, but they're clearly, I think, starting to get frustrated with the lack of Sihil options. So now let's go with Sihil. And I think it's 2 damage, right? Yeah. We'll go Lampkin as our target, and then Redanian Archer would also have armor. They do now have a target that they can go after with Sihil, no matter what we do here. So, unfortunately, we can no longer delay them any further, I'm afraid. But Sihil next turn will be a 3, which means let's probably hit Morkvarg, and then we'll hit Gerd. So this could be our next target, and then that could be our target after that, assuming we have enough bronze cards to go along with that plan, and we do, theoretically. So I'm thinking it's Sihil after this. Oh! Redanian Knight, we didn't even have anything at 9 power or higher. Okay, now I'm very confused. Now I don't really know what that was about. So, I mean, our plan was to use Sihil here, and I think that remains the case. We could either go after Morkvarg or Geralt. What if we, at this rate, we might want to leave this melee row a little bit crowded as a potential Sabrina target. At this rate, I mean, Ballista would be the best card to play early, although we're looking pretty solid in this round. And Ballista is a very good card, so I'm wondering if maybe we deliberately try to save that? Maybe we get a little bit greedy here and go for Bombardment. We do have a fair number of siege engines on the board. It is likely to, yeah, hit some Dragon Turtles, which is, of course, going to deal some, or get them boosted. But Gird was what we planned to hit next. I think we still go for it, though. And then just hit you guys, and it's probably going to be the Axe Wielder for next hill if it even gets that far, but we have a decent lead here, yeah. And so, somewhat understandably, they choose not to go any further in this round, otherwise they might have been in trouble pacing-wise. So we'll take the round 1 win on even cards. Okay, and of course we still have Sihil. It's now up to 4 power, which is decent, but not amazing. We do have a lot of bronze cards to go with it, though, so that's still solid. And Sabrina, of course, is a great card to go along with either Sihil or the Reinforced Ballistas, really any source of damage that we may have. We still have not yet used Oneiro, so I'm thinking since we have, theoretically, at least one throwaway card here, we'll probably start with Oneiro into... Take your pick. Maybe Trollololo if we're pushing hard. And we save Raffard's Vengeance for round 3 if we still have a bunch of bronze units that we've not yet used. I think that might be the plan. Let's try it. I mean, what would our alternatives be? Yennefer. It's a little bit early. I mean, we could play her, yes. But that is more damage. She is very powerful, but we'll try Trollololo. He's a soldier, of course, whereas Yennefer is not, so that means instead of crew abilities, we may not have much in the way of crew abilities. Okay, Ivo. Ooh, in the... Range throw? Okay, so... They might be throwing now? I mean, there's no logical reason to do that. So, that is very odd. Now, however, I think we're probably looking to go with Ballista. Or, really, Sihil. I would have said we really want to get Ivo into Sihil removal range, but in the range row, he's not exactly a threat. But we'll do it nonetheless, because it at least gives us the chance to get some more stuff out here. And now Sihil's up to 5. So we could get rid of this Ivo if they move it into the melee row or something like that. Or the longship is a more enticing target. That is definitely something we'd like to remove. We have just enough damage to get rid of this one, and then we can destroy this one with our Ballista. Ballistae. And now... I mean, the Redanian Knight will still get hit by this remaining longship. We couldn't get rid of it initially, otherwise we would have lost the initiative on Sihil, which we didn't want to do. So, I mean, it's still... will get boosted unless they remove the remaining armor, or we could go for a little bit of a proactive Rivian Pikeman. I guess we'll do that. Then... yeah, I guess we will. Just take you out. All together. And Sihil at this point is up to 6 damage, which means just about anything that they play we should be able to destroy. And we can still get either Redanian Knight or another set of Rivian Pikeman on the board when we do that. And we still have more damage coming from the Ballistae and from double Rivian Pikeman. So whatever comes onto the board here is likely absolutely toast. It's a Drummond Berserker, which is actually a really strong card in this event. You get the damage from one of them, and the other one immediately transforms. So how much damage is Sihil? It's 6, so we could remove you altogether. Would be nice. There is something to be said, though, for taking out this Drummond Berserker and having so much damage that it doesn't have the chance to transform. So that is possibly even something that I would prefer. And then next turn we can use Sihil to get rid of this Bear Abomination if we'd like. There's no time sensitivity to this. So yeah, I think we do that. If we take you out, and then at this point, there's no threat of the damage to the Redanian Knights from the long ships that we were looking at before. So I think that means we can just get the Redanian Knights down here, since they benefit from getting out here as early as possible. There are a fair number of damage units. Actually surprised that... Oh, did they play too early? Ah, they played it too early for the adrenaline to kick in. So yeah, otherwise that would have been quite a bit bigger, that Bear Witcher Mentor. But, I mean, we could get rid of this one and reset our cooldowns with one of the Rivian Pikeman. That's an option. We can also go Sihil into, at this point, it might even be Winch, because we could go Rivian Pikeman, but there's only room for one of them in here, so it's not quite the value we're looking for. So I think we just do this, and it's 7 damage. I mean, either way, it's enough to take down either of you guys. Do this, we'll go Winch, and we'll put the boost on the Rivian Pikeman, since we might wait to use you. Obviously, we don't need the cooldowns on these guys. And then if we do this, we can actually, for what it's worth, if we're quick enough, pretty much remove everything. Trollololos are slowing us down. Okay. Yeah. It's a few too many animations for us to have to go through in one turn there, I'm afraid. But, okay. The quartermasters can hit each other, but otherwise don't have a great target. And we might be looking at going with a Sabrina now, since this row is getting a little wide. Okay, so I think Sabrina, she's a gold unit, first of all, so we can't combine her with Sihil. So let's use her here, though. And this might be the last turn that we take in this round, because this is going to be a devastating play. Removing everything in their row. Don't even need anything, or don't have anything we need to hit here. In fact, technically speaking, we hit one of our own units with armor. It does give additional armor to the Trollololos, which does translate to points. Galaxy Brain, additional point play there. So 53 points to 0. They have 3 cards remaining. We will continue to get a few more boosts from these Redanian Knights at the end of every turn. I think we leave it at this. It's Earner Chad. Can we remove Earner Chad? Not quite. We could remove that one. They also probably should have gone Patricide first. That would have given him more armor. But I think we just say, you know what? That's fine. You had to use your leader ability. You will have to go at least 1 card down, if not multiple cards down. And if we pass now, then that means they aren't getting any value out of their Earner Chads. So I think we just stick with this. We'll still get these boosts. So it's going to be really hard for them to catch us. Okay, it's Siri Dash, which doesn't have the time to trigger here, so I guess they were hoping they would have the chance to wait to play her in round 3, but we obviously bled in round 2, and the bleed is looking pretty strong right now, as they just have 1 card left here to try to catch up to us. And the last card is Armor Up, which will give them a few more points here, but it is not enough to catch us, so we'll take the 2-0 win. So there's a look at a Northern Realms Siege deck for the new +1 seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.